Now we're going to talk about some of the tools and materials you need to complete your bag. The first thing you need is fabric. I like to use a good quality quilting cotton. You can find all different kinds of prints and patterns and colors. I like to use more than one print on my bag to kind of mix it up, but you can kind of do it the way that you like. If you need yardage requirements, just refer to your PDF to find out how much you need of each fabric. The next thing you're going to need is interfacing. I've made this bag a lot of times and I've experimented with a lot of different kinds of interfacing, and these are the ones that I find work best with the bag. The first one you're going to need is a fusible fleece. If you go to the fabric store, it's just called fusible fleece. Just ask for that and they should know exactly what to give you. The next one is you need a heavier weight interfacing to kind of give the bag some shape. This is a Pellon product and it's called Flex Foam. I like to use the fusible. If you can't find the fusible, you can use the non-fusible. But if you can find the fusible, that would be better. Then I have another Pellon product that I like to use. It's called Shape Flex. And it's a nice lightweight interfacing. And the thing I like about this is that when you press it, it doesn't wrinkle. So you get a nice finished look on the outside of your bag. If you don't want to use the Flex Foam for your bag, you can also use, this is a ThermoWeb product. It's called Non-Woven Heavyweight Interfacing. It'll give the bag a little stiffer look, but not give it as much volume as you would have with the Flex Foam. The next thing you're going to need to do is you need to decide what kind of a handle you want on the front of your bag. So we have a few different options for handles. One of them is to actually use a leather handle, and this is called a belt blank, and you buy it at a leather store. It's like what Boy Scouts use to make belts at Scout Camp. But you want a 1-inch wide belt blank, and you want it thick but not too thick because you want it to be able to kind of bend around. And then you're going to need something to punch some holes in the end of your belt blank. They'll have it at the leather store, just like an awl and an eyelet set, just so you can get those put through. Then you're going to need eyelets to go ahead and set the handles on the bag. The ones that I like are ones that screw together. And like I said, if you just ask at your leather store or get online, you can easily find these. If you don't want to use leather handles, you can use webbing, and this you can get at the fabric store. It doesn't matter what color it is because you're going to cover it with fabric. If you are doing something, you're covering your handles with a lighter fabric, then you're definitely going to want to make sure that you have a dark webbing. The third option for handles is to use these purchased handles that you can buy at the store. If you use the purchased handles, you're going to need something to attach them to the bag, because you can see these little things come off and attach to the front of the bag. If you do that, then you're going to need some ribbon and then some sort of fabric that you want to use as the feature to go ahead and attach the handle to the bag, because this will show on the front of your bag. So you want something that would be kind of a nice focal point on the front of the bag. Okay, the next thing you're going to need is zippers. There are two types of zippers on the market that you can find easily. One is a metal zipper and one is a polyester zipper. And it doesn't matter what type of zipper you use. It just depends on the look that you like for the bag. You're going to need two zippers, one for the outside of the bag that is 30 inches long. Most zippers that are 30 inches long have two pulls like this. If you can't find one with two pulls, it doesn't matter because you're not going to use both of them. It's just kind of for convenience. That's for the zipper that goes around the top of the bag. The second zipper you need is for the zipper pocket on the front of the bag. If you decide you don't want to go ahead and put the zipper pocket on the front of the bag, that's totally fine. You can leave that off, but that's the other kind of zipper. And like I said, it doesn't matter if it's metal or if it's polyester. It just kind of depends on what your personal preference is. You're going to need a few sewing machine feet that you might not have for your machine already, but they're going to really help to make the project go a lot smoother. If you decide that you want to make your bag out of a coated fabric, that would be a laminate cotton or an oilcloth, you're going to need a special sewing machine foot for that. I have two that I like to use when I'm sewing with a laminate fabric. One is a Teflon foot, and the bottom of the foot has a coating on it so that it will easily glide over the top of the coated fabric. The other one that you can use that I also really like, this one's new to me, is a roller foot. And it's kind of cool because it's got little rollers on the bottom that just make it roll really easily over the top of the fabric. If you're not sewing with a coated fabric, then you don't need to worry about these 2 feet. Since you're sewing zippers, you do need a zipper foot, and one probably came with your machine already. So if you don't have one, you need to pick one up, but I bet if you look in your box, there's probably one in there. And then for the piping on the outside, you need a piping foot. Sometimes it's called a cording foot or a welting foot. If you look on the bottom of the foot, you can see that there's a groove down the center. And what that will do is it'll allow the cording to feed through the foot evenly as you sew. I would not probably try cording without a cording foot. Sometimes you can use a zipper foot, but if you have this foot, it'll make things a lot easier. If you don't have it already, it's a foot that I use over and over again, so it's a good investment one to have. As far as sewing machine needles go, you can use a standard needle, but I noticed since we're sewing through lots of layers of fabric that it's easier to use a microtex needle. A microtex needle is a lot sharper than a regular needle. It has a finer point, so it really helps to punch through the fabric a lot easier. You're going to need piping. So you can buy a packaged piping if there's a color that you like. If you can't find a color you like, then you can make your own, and we'll go ahead and cover that in another chapter. You need 2 packages of this, and then you're also going to need some double fold bias tape. The next thing you're going to need is you're going to need something to mark on your fabric, and there's a lot of different options when it comes to this. One of the things that I really like to use is a Frixion pen. It's actually not a sewing specific pen, it's an erasable ink pen, but what happens is when you put it on fabric and then you iron it, the ink disappears. You want to test it on a scrap piece first to make sure it really does disappear off yours. The advantage of this is that you can write right on your fabric. The disadvantage is if you go ahead and mark your fabric early in the process and then you iron it, you're going to lose all your markings. So you want to have that, but kind of just be careful with when you use it. The thing that I use the most on this pattern for marking is a tracing paper and a tracing wheel and a ruler. So you're going to need that so that you can mark the centers of all your bag pieces. You're going to need basic supplies like scissors and pins. I also find it helpful to have a small set of precise scissors to go through. For thread, I recommend using a polyester thread. I would not use a cotton thread just because I don't think it's strong enough to hold the bag pieces together. And then your pattern is going to come on the PDF, and you're going to put it together off the PDF, and then you're going to want to trace it after that. So I use tissue paper to trace my pattern pieces. You can also use a piece of non-fusible interfacing, anything that you kind of have at home that you can see through and pin and move around a lot. And then just the last couple things, a glue stick is very helpful for a lot of pieces to kind of get things to sit where you want it to. And then as far as pins go, I like to use the longer straight pins, not a quilting pin, and I like to use the longer ones. They're stronger, so they'll hold the layers of fabric together better, and the longer size will make it so that you can get it through the bulky pieces. So that's all the things that you need to make your bag, so let's go ahead and get started.